Welcome to a special bonus episode of Character Creation Cast, everyone. It's just me right now since Amelia is currently at Gen Con, but we do have a couple of announcements first. Congratulations goes out to the entire actual play community for winning the Diana Jones Award for Excellence in the Gaming Industry. This is a huge achievement, and our own James D'Amato, head of the One Shot Podcast Network, was on site to help accept the award on behalf of everybody. Our episode this past Monday, going over the 8 kinds of fun with Jim McClure, has been a big topic of conversation on the Character Creation Cast Discord server. You can join in the fun too at discord.charactercreationcast.com. We'd love to see you there. And as always, if you'd like to support the show and can afford to do so, please head on over to patreon.com/oneshotpodcast and check out the different rewards available. At the $5 level and beyond, you get access to the secret archive, of which we've got some very fun things planned for very soon. Another way you can support the show is to leave us a rating or review. If you head on over to our listing on Apple Podcasts and iTunes, you can go ahead and leave a rating or review there, and then we'll be able to read them out here in the announcements. Plus, they make us feel really great when we get new ones, and that can't be beat. Since I love reveling in these reviews with Amelia, I'll hold off on this next review until next week's opener. And just before we get into today's bonus episode, you'll notice that it is quite a bit shorter than our normal episodes. We toyed with the format a little bit to give us just a snippet of character creation for this system. Let us know on the Discord or on Twitter what you think. Having said all of that, let's get to the show. Enjoy. Welcome to a special bonus episode of Character Creation Spotlight, everyone. This is a new segment that we're trying out in order to shine a light on some current or up-and-coming games to keep an eye out for. I'm your host, Ryan, and today we are welcoming Amit to discuss City of Mist, a noir superhero RPG. Welcome to Character Creation Spotlight, Amit. It's really great to have you here.
Hi, Ryan. How's it going? It's great to be here.
Awesome. And could you go ahead and start us off and tell us a bit about yourself and the projects that you are currently involved in?
So I am a game designer, and I pretty much started the Son of Oak game studio that's created mostly, or just, City of Mist at this point. We have other plans in the future. And we've been around for about 2 or 3 years working on first the starter set, then the Kickstarter, the core book, and now the next generation of City of Mist items or products.
Oh, very cool. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
Yeah, and normally Amelia would be here to help, but with Gen Con being the week of this recording, that just means that it'll be me here with our guest. And since this is an unabridged version of our normal format, we'll just be sticking to the highlights of the system with a special focus on character creation. So, without further ado, how about we find out what this game is all about?
What's in a game?
All right, so Amit, could you go ahead and give us a quick rundown of what the setting is for City of Mist?
Yeah, so City of Mist is a noir urban fantasy kind of game. It's set in a city where ordinary people gain legendary powers. Basically, legends incarnate in everyday people. People on the street, from the plumber to the executive, from the housewife to the crook or the detective. So basically, anyone in the city could have a legend incarnated in them, and they gain the power of that legend. So you have Alice in Wonderland could incarnate in a hobo on the street, and King Arthur could be a 7-year-old girl. So this is City of Mist, and what's kind of special about the city is that there is a mystical veil hiding all these legends from those people who still did not awaken to their own legends. So there's this kind of underworld, a hidden underworld of crime and magic, of these basically superpowered or supernaturally powered people discovering gradually that the whole city is really controlled by legends.
Oh, wow.
And meanwhile, everyone else is running a normal life in a modern day city.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, it is actually quite crazy.
That sounds awesome.
So basically you play rifts, who are people who have awoken to their legend inside them, and they have a lot of questions, but everything is kind of hard to put together because there is this mystical veil, the mist, and it's hiding everything, and you're not really sure if someone you're looking at the street, if these are horns they have, or is it just like some costume or some cosplay, or is that person wearing a cap or a steel cap, and it's like it's there's a lot of investigation, kind of delving into your own story and legend, but of course a lot of action and drama, stuff like that.
Oh, that's very cool. And then what sort of things do we need to play this sort of game?
So you can actually pick up the free starter set for City of Mist. You can download the free PDF starter set from our website and start playing. There's pre-generated characters and kind of the basic rules. You can also pick up the core rule book if you want to really get into the system, be able to create your own characters and understand all the possibilities that the system offers. All you need is two 6-sided dice, 2d6 basically, because the system is related or an offshoot of Apocalypse World, or Dungeon World as a lot of people know it.
So it's powered by the Apocalypse thing?
Exactly. So it's only two 6-sided dice. It's really simple and straightforward. Our character sheet, you can print it out, but we have a set of cards. We call them theme cards that we use for our character sheets. So that is also something you could pick up. But at the very basic, you just mosey on to our website, download the free starter set, and you're all set.
That's very cool. Yeah, we'll have a link to that in the show notes for sure. Okay, and then what do characters do in this game? I know we covered it a little bit in the setting talk.
Yeah, so characters, Rifts in City of Mist, you start as a crew of Rifts that have already discovered that they are legends, and they know about each other, and they work together for towards a certain goal. You can definitely play the part where people get to know each other and discover their powers. That's cool, but you start the game with a predefined crew, and the crew actually decides what the characters are going to do. So you have some options for different crews in the starter set, and of course a lot more options in the core book and how to create your own crew. But basically, this is a noir detective story where it could be kind of like a little Scooby Gang kind of thing, where you're all trying to discover what the hell is going on in the city. You could be a team of vigilantes or a private investigation firm that is digging into crimes or wrongdoings done by other legends in mortal guise or modern day guise. Mm-hmm. So and of course you end up, a lot of the time there's a lot of showdowns, and you end up tackling these people with special powers. And so I guess you could really say that it combines investigation, it combines drama, and it combines action. So yeah, the characters, if your character is a crew of vigilantes, you'll be looking for crime. If you're into the mystical side of the city, maybe you'll be kind of looking for all kinds of relics or objects that transported from the world of legend. And if you are just maybe a bunch of friends in high school, then maybe you're just dealing with life in high school while being a legend, while being awesome. Snow White. So so you can really take the game in very many directions, but it will always involve a certain amount of probably action and a certain amount of investigation.
That's awesome. Yeah, it sounds like there's a lot that is unique about this system. Is there anything else that is kind of pretty much just in City of Mists from all the games that you've seen out there before?
There's one thing that's kind of I've seen in other games, but I really very few games, and I'm really happy we incorporated that, is the use of basically free text tags. So City of Mist doesn't have any stats. You only have a few tags that describe your powers, and that allows people to get really creative with, not just powers, but powers, abilities, skills, personality traits, resources, allies, everything. So you can get really creative. Obviously, some people do the straightforward stuff, like strong or smart, or has the power to shoot, I don't know, like laser beams out of their eyes. Mm-hmm. But a lot of people also do these cool little catchphrases, like the more you hit me, the stronger I get, something like that. And then you can use these tags just as well as any power or any attribute.
And then it's open to interpretation then on what that sort of ability manifests during play then, huh?
Yeah, it's definitely open to interpretation, but they're it's very structured. There are rules so that people don't get into like debates into that. We've definitely, that was one of the main weaknesses the system could have had, and I think we really kind of try to target that so that it definitely is based on interpretation. It leaves a lot of room for creativity on how you incorporate different tags, but you don't get kind of like bogged in discussions. It's very clear. The tags can be, only one tag can be a broad tag. There's all kinds of, controls to make it fun and not like a discussion.
Right.
So the tag thing is a big thing because it means that you can create exactly the character you want. You choose what to highlight. You choose if you want your gear highlighted or the people around you, and it's really, or your powers and abilities. It's really a lot of fun. And the other thing I think is that we'll talk about it probably later, but the kind of stories, the dramatic changes that you see in stories of TV characters and comic book and graphic novel characters is built into the system. So you can actually have all kinds of dramatic events happen to you. For example, let's say that, if you can think about when Spider-Man loses a love interest or something like that, and then he stops using his powers for a while, or something happens and he gets he has more time in his life, so he starts a new job. All these things are built into the system, and I'll talk about it later when we get to the character creation.
Yeah, it sounds a little bit like blending some aspects from Fate in there.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of people have talked about. Actually, I think one shot podcast have said that this system kind of like combines the best things about Apocalypse World and Fate, which I never thought about Fate when I was creating it, but definitely I see the connection.
Yeah, that's very cool. All right, and then let's go ahead and go over what steps do we need to do to actually create characters in this game.
Okay, so the first step you'll take is to, after you kind of decide about the nature of the crew and the setting or the specific game you're going to play with the rest of the group, the first step you take for your own character creation is to decide what is your mythos, which is the legend that is in your character, and what is your logos, which is your everyday persona. So you can obviously come up with that on your own, or you can use the tropes that we have ready. They're like little classes. So things that are kind of typical to a noir story, and then things that are typical to legends. For example, a sun god, a fairy godmother, and so on and so forth. Or from the logo side, things like a detective. What else do we have there? The jock, the bruiser, all these kinds of characters that you can play. So once you chose these two aspects of your character, which is a lot of fun because you get to combine legends and kind of real life or modern characters. Once you choose that, you want to choose what is the balance between the mythos and the logos. So you get to choose 4 themes for your character, and but the themes are divided between themes that describe your legendary side and themes that describe your ordinary side.
Sure.
And you have to choose if you divide it 3 to 1, 1 to 3, or 2 to 2, which is balanced.
Okay.
If you have the more 3 legendary themes, you're called and 1 ordinary, you're called a legendary, someone who's totally living out their legend and kind of gave into it. And if you have 2 and 2, you're a borderliner. You're kind of walking the line. You're trying to balance these 2 aspects in your life. Mm-hmm. And if you have 3 in favor of your ordinary, you're touched. So your legend has touched you. It's there in your life, but you're more about the ordinary. Funnily enough, I find it a lot more interesting to play the touched characters because they have a lot more texture. They have a lot more interesting things going on. They're not just super powered, but of course, the system balances. It doesn't really matter if you choose either of those. People can't start as actually stronger. They may be stronger in the narrative, in the story, but they're not, your friend's character is not going to be stronger if they choose more legendary themes than you do. It's just that your power will shine when you do ordinary things like, this kind of Jessica Jones style detectiving or...
Oh, yes.
So, that's the second step.
Nice.
So once you decide that, you have 7 types of mythos theme books or theme types that you can choose from, and 7 ordinary logos ones. So obviously in the legendary powers, you have things like Bastion, which are defensive powers, mobility, movement powers, and so on and so forth. Subversion, which is like illusions. And you kind of choose to represent that. So let's say that you are Jack, Jack the Giant Slayer from Jack and the Beanstalk. So maybe you choose a mobility theme to represent the fact that you can quickly create beanstalks and kind of jump on them and move around using those beanstalks. And maybe you create some kind of a relic, like one of the theme types is that you have a relic, like an object that represents the legend rather than you. So maybe you have the sword with which you slayed a giant or something like that. So you kind of start putting together the legendary side of your character. Nice. And then on the other side, you have things like training, possessions, defining relationship, like someone important in your life, defining event, stuff like that.
Very cool. Yeah, so is it rounding it off with a lot of the Powered by Apocalypse relationship sort of things, I imagine, right?
Yeah, there's also that kind of relationship within the team, but that's another dimension. Your defining relationship could be a team member, but it could also be your community, or loved one, your family, or company you work with, and so on and so forth.
Okay.
So...
That's very cool.
So you've chosen your mythos and logos, you've chosen the balance, you've chosen the exact themes to represent them, and now each of those themes has a little questionnaire with 10 questions. You don't have to answer all of them, of course. But these questions basically, they give you the answer that you give to these questions become your power tags, which are the tags we previously discussed.
Okay.
So, for example, if you choose the theme book for Bastion, which is protective, defensive powers, the first question is obviously going to be, how does your mythos protect you? And then you say, it doesn't have to, it could be anything. So a lot of people would take the physical protection, like, I don't know, I'm a gargoyle. My mythos is a gargoyle, so I can grow, stone skin or something like that. But it could be anything. It could be like magical protection. My mythos is a fairy godmother, so I can actually protect myself and others from evil spells. Not necessarily from punches and guns, but...
Yeah.
So, and you can really diversify with that. So basically, you follow these theme books, and they help you create your 4 themes and, gather all your power tags.
Sure.
So by the end of character creation, you have 12 power tags, and you also have some weakness tags, which kind of play against you.
Oh, nice. Anything specific about the weakness tags you wanted to point out that are kind of interesting?
Well, the nice thing about weakness tags is that whenever anyone invokes them,
Mhm.
you get a little bit of XP, so to speak, and that theme improves. So after that happens a couple of times, you actually start getting all kinds of improvements for the theme. You could get a new tag, a new power tag. You can get a new special improvements that are unique to this theme. But yeah, the weakness tags, sometimes you will want to invoke the weakness tag just to have your character grow.
Oh, okay. That's really interesting.
So you can do that. That's up to the player
Cool.
to choose that.
Very nice. I was looking over the PDF that you had sent me just earlier, and we'll put a link to that in the show notes of one of the example characters that are pre-generated. And yeah, it looks really interesting. It's got the 4 cards and all the different power tags and the weakness tags there. Very unique sort of character sheet, if I might say.
Yeah, it's a little bit different. I guess there's definitely everything I talked about, trying to create something that's very flexible, but also trying to create something that anyone can pick up, not necessarily someone who gets the whole gaming, math kind of based character sheets. So, and this has been really cool. I mean, I've played it with really literally so many different people in any walk of life and any age as well. So I've played it with kids. I've played it with a bunch of senior ladies. So we've had a lot of fun with this system.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Anything else that you'd like to talk about the character creation process of the system?
I think that's it. I mean, this, as soon as you're kind of through with the theme books, you have the core of your character done. The other thing that you choose during character creation is you choose mysteries and identities. Mysteries are you choose for each one of your mythos legendary themes. You choose a mystery, which is a question that your mythos wants you to answer, and then you kind of search for it during the game. And if you find answers, your theme improves. And then for your ordinary aspects, you have identities, which are statements or about your character that your character believes and wants to follow and adhere to. And when you do that, when you sacrifice something to adhere to those beliefs, your themes improve. And the other aspect is also true. So when you don't do that, the themes start deteriorating, or when you don't follow your mystery and answer these questions, the themes start deteriorating, and that could pretty dramatically change your character and change the balance of ordinary and legendary in your character.
Oh, that's really awesome. Very cool. Well, then, how about let's talk about your Kickstarter a little bit. I know you've got a new Kickstarter that is live right now as of the release of this episode. And is there anything you'd like to highlight there that is adding, especially in relation to character creation?
Yeah. So first of all, you can get the core books are now split. We're going to use this Kickstarter to split the core book into 2, because the core book contains a lot of information that players don't need. It's basically the player and the GM book put together. So we're splitting it into 2. You can get both of these aspects of the game, but we wanted to make the player guide more accessible so people can create their own characters more easily. That's one thing you can get. You can also get the campaign is named Knights of Paintown. That's the main book that we're going to be creating. That's a kind of a campaign book that runs you through an entire story arc, basically. Complete. It's like an adventure path. You can just play these 10 adventures, 10 cases as we call them. But in terms of character creation, probably the expansion that we're also releasing in this Kickstarter, Shadows and Showdowns, that will have all kinds of character options that are not in the core book. So, for example, I guess the main thing is that we have, like in the setting of City of Mist, there's an organization, a secret organization that is responsible for maintaining the mist, maintaining that mystical veil that is hiding the legends. And that organization is called the Gatekeepers. And they often hunt legends and try to kind of close those rifts in the mist. They want to, get everyone to be normal again. And you will be able to also create a gatekeeper character if you if you have the Shadows and Showdown. So we're going to have rules for creating kind of like the baddies. So you can also play the baddies, or not necessarily the baddies, but you can also play the other side.
Oh, that's very cool.
So there's more of that.
That sounds awesome. Well, you got me really excited to make characters for this system, and I hope we can sit down soon with you and hopefully Sydney from Encounter Roleplay to create some characters for this thing.
Definitely. Let's do this.
Awesome. Very cool. Well, thank you, Amit, so much for joining us to talk about City of Mist.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's been really awesome learning about this game, and I'm really excited for it. Could you go ahead and remind everyone any other things that you're working on and where they can find you online?
So, of course, there's the Kickstarter. You can find it by looking for City of Mist or Knights of Paintown with a Y on Kickstarter. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter. We have a Discord channel server. You can find us. We have a subreddit, so you can really find us wherever. Instagram, Google+, of course. So just if you look for City of Mist, you'll find us easy enough.
Very cool. And we'll put the links to those in the show notes. Well, thank you so much for joining us for a special bonus episode of Character Creation Spotlight. And thanks, everybody, for tuning in.
Thank you.
Character Creation Spotlight, like Character Creation Cast, is a production of the One Shot Podcast Network and can be found online at www.charactercreationcast.com. Head to the website to get more information on our hosts and guests, or even find some of our character sheets. Character Creation Cast can be found on Twitter at CreationCast. I'm one of your hosts, Ryan Bolter, and I can be found on Twitter at Lord Neptune. Our other host, Amelia Antrim, can be found on Twitter at Ginger Reckoning. Music for this episode is used with a Creative Commons license or with permission from the podcast it originated from. Further information can be found within the show notes. This episode was edited by Ryan Bolter. Further information for the game systems used and today's guests can also be found in the show notes. Thanks for joining us, and remember, we find that the best part of any role-playing game is character creation. So go out there and create some amazing people. We will see you next time. Character Creation Cast is hosted by the One Shot Podcast Network. If you enjoyed our show, visit oneshotpodcast.com, where you'll find other great shows like Campaign.
The Campaign Podcast is an actual play podcast where a small, consistent group of Chicago nerds get together to record role-playing games. It's hosted by Kat Cool and is currently set in the Star Wars universe using the Edge of the Empire gaming system. Join Kat as she leads a team of improvisers, James D'Amato, John Patrick Cohen, and Johnny O'Mara, on a character-driven storytelling campaign narrative.